go on, Brendan here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life. We decided we want to sit down and look at the future, where we would look at bands, basically 10 each, thereabouts, of bands that we think within the next decade, so 10 odd years kind of time, a long period that we think could eventually rise to headliner status. And by that we mean headlining major festivals, so to speak. You know, your Downloads, your Hellfest, stuff like that, putting them on par with the likes of Iron Maiden, Metallica, you know, that lot basically. You know, and it seemed almost impossible when I started this. I wrote 2 down and went, "Oh, I'm out."
I started it and I was like, "Who's going to be headlining Download in 10 years?" And then I just wrote Ozzy, Iron Maiden, Rob. You know what I mean? I was like,
Aerosmith, Kiss. Yeah,
I was like, yeah, they'll be wheeling somebody out. But yeah, and I ended up getting to 10. But like I'd imagine I did similar to what you did, which is like your heart kind of leads at first, and I write down 10, and I go, "These are 10 bands I'd love to see headline," and then I think like, probably not.
Yeah, some of the ones I had that I pulled was like I wrote Mole, and I was like,
yeah,
come on, Carl,
like,
be serious.
Putting like, yeah, you know, you never know one day, but you know, there are so like one of the areas like I kind of had to strip all of mine out a little bit. Was I think at first I went too heavy on the kind of power folk side, and I was like, well, to be fair, if a band like Blind Guardian, after all their years and one of the most famous in it, still couldn't headline in the UK, then realistically any of these kind of young upstarts below them aren't gonna either. So I got a couple of debatable ones I think on mine, but you know,
I got one major debate, well, two major debatable ones. I
I've got 9.
Well, yeah, so it was pretty freaking difficult, and of course we're not saying these people will ever rise to the status, but I've done mine on the basis of where their current upward trajectory and where they might be able to go within, say, some of mine are going to need 10 fucking years. They're going to need that time. Do you know what I mean?
I would say on mine, I haven't necessarily chosen 10 bands I particularly would want to see headline.
Agreed.
You know, these aren't like the 10 bands I would love to see headlining a major festival. Some of them are, don't get me wrong, but there are a couple in there I put down as realistically they're a likelihood whether I like them or not.
100%. I got the same. Well, then let's start with the one. Let's start with your first one, and I'm 99% sure we probably got the same one.
Yeah, the first one on the list I put down was Gojira.
Okay.
The biggest of the second pack, I guess, in my mind. Already headlining the medium-sized festivals.
Yep.
You know, the small to medium festivals, you know, your Bloodstocks and whatnot. A band that have got recognition a little bit outside of the core metal circles, you know, playing at Glastonbury and talked about quite regularly, like on all over places like YouTube, and all the reaction channels love them. And, you know, so they're the most likely on current size, scale, trajectory. These things are so easy, aren't they? You know, all you need is I think they've got an album coming out in April or sometime like that. All it needs to be is absolutely terrible, and that's it. You're back to square one, aren't you?
It's done, yeah.
Yeah.
When we talked about Gojira last time, I can't remember what video we were talking about, but we were kind of saying this would be the album. It would either be the one that puts them up there, or be the one that stops it dead in its tracks. Almost like it's a weird comparison, but almost like Machine Head with Unto the Locust. Which was like after the Blackening, it just wasn't good enough to push them up, you know?
Yeah, ridiculous, really. Because when you go in hindsight, like even the general population, they now like slate that when people talk about Machine Head's good albums, that's like one of the ones. It's like that's a banger, you know. But it was just the problem they had was that the Blackening came out before it, and
they needed to do a Blackening too, and they didn't.
Yeah, they changed.
So it is. I mean, I have Gojira as well. It hammered it home for me with the announcement of the new album and the single that came out. For a day or two, I couldn't move on social media for people talking about Gojira, and it took me by surprise because of course they were popular and all that. And it's not like we knew there was something no one else did, but I'd never seen everyone like that was trending on Twitter. Gojira were for a period, and it was kind of like, oh shit, everyone is paying attention. This is it. This is the chance. This is the moment. Basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it needs to be L'Enfant Sauvage not Magma. That's what it needs to be, this new album.
Thing is, it only needs to be that for us. That's the thing.
True.
Do you know what I mean? I would imagine there's a lot of people that maybe got into Magma and the single and stuff like that, who maybe think L'Enfant Sauvage is too heavy.
True, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
so
are.
Yeah,
right.
for me, I'd absolutely love a L'Enfant Sauvage too. Like raw it up a little bit. You know, a nice blend, because I've got no problem with Magma anyway, but a nice blend of the two would be really cool. Based on the radio friendly single, I thought was quite radio friendly.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they were intelligent enough to know that in order to capitalize right now, going back to a raw, heavy sound probably would be a great move for me, but a bad move for them as a band.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'll be interested to see what it comes out. You know, they're a talented band. You know, we've seen them plenty of times. They are both of our number one show, I think, or which we saw at Brixton Academy, is in the best show we've ever seen. The perfect show. We saw them headline Bloodstock, and they were amazing. You know, they're a hard-working band. They've been around a long time, so they deserve it as well. To be fair to them, you know, it's not like it's being given to them on a plate. They've had to graft for it.
Agreed.
You know, so fingers crossed they do get that opportunity.
Agreed. That wasn't the one I was thinking we were both going to double up.
Oh, okay.
No, so there's still one more. I'll
probably
say
be the second one on the list.
Yeah, the second one on the list. Avatar.
Oh, okay. That's not my second one on the list. That was one of the ones I thought was debatable.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason why I chose Avatar is because it felt like over the last couple of years, it's all been upward trajectory for them.
Yeah.
The part where I struggle with, where I briefly really thought, okay, maybe not, was they were kind of being called for Bloodstock headliner this year and they didn't get it. And it felt like they really probably should have as the next sort of major step up. But then they're not even on the bill. And I'll imagine it's just because it didn't work out. But then I think about the work they put into this album, having released it during the COVID times, which of course has hurt their upward trajectory. Instead of being Zoom, where they could have gone out live and performed these shows across the entire world as they plan to do, they've been stuck at home, yet they still managed to do the Avatar Ages stuff, which got a lot of attention too, and stuff like that. And but since, God, I don't know how far back I want to go, but it's the more I look at Avatar, all I keep seeing is up. Normally you get a bit of that, but it's not been the case with Avatar. No. And it's kind of like the popularity in sort of mainstream is beginning to appear now. You know,
I think so. You know, I can sort of attest to it, you know, my own personal kind of perspective, having gone from I don't really know who these guys are and I couldn't be fucked to listen to them.
Yeah.
To kind of, you know, well, I just
super fan. That does not look good when you
got their merch everywhere. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I guess the thing that like opened my eyes a little bit to how popular they were, because I didn't really know, was the Avatar Ages stuff and the open kind of live streaming chat that they had beforehand, and you had people checking in from their countries around the world, and it was unbelievable. Like, I mean, we were like ticking countries off. We were just like China, Russia, you know, all the countries in Europe, Chile, Brazil. Then it was all the states in America, and it was just like these guys are. This is big, man. It's global. And because I follow them quite a lot, as in like almost literally stalking everything they do. One of the things I've seen them talk about quite a lot really was actually before Hunter Gatherer, but kind of in the album cycle beforehand, you know, the Avatar Country kind of era. That was when, for them, they kind of cracked America.
Okay.
You know, they've been to it because I saw interviews with them out in America, and they'd been to America many times, but they were supporting. I think they've been out there. They supported Mushroom Head on the tour once. Considering these days we see Mushroom Head supporting, saying Clown Posse.
Yeah.
And Avatar are lower down the list than that, like in the States. They were to go out there for 3 shows, but I get the impression that these guys are really clever and they know what they're doing. And that to a lot of people would just be not worth going, but they still went. They still did it. And then when Avatar Country hit, they found they were getting offers and they were being asked to come out and do a tour there, and they were suddenly the headliner.
Right.
And there were all these interviews where they were being invited onto like radio stations to talk, like local radio and all that, but talking about the album. And all of a sudden, America was interested. And I do think that still matters, just from a scale of people, you know, scale of press and everything like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that Avatar, I think I've noticed with them, is that they are exceptional at, and maybe they've improved that over the years, is their marketing of themselves.
Yep.
You know, there isn't a week that goes by with the Avatar social media stuff jumping into life for something new.
Yeah.
A clip, a video, a new live video they've been holding on to for a year, or a new interview, or like a new bit of merch. You know, like they released a bloody 1,000-piece Johannes puzzle about a week ago. Do you know, and I know that's, to some people that'll maybe seem like a little bit cheesy, I don't know, a little bit cashy in, you know, that sort of thing. But actually these days, that's what you need to do. You need to be always active, lockdown or not. You've got to be always active. And I think you can see the bands that are going to do well because they are.
Yeah.
You know, and because they know that it's worthwhile they're making a puzzle, because that shit will sell out, and that means that they're doing well. I think that the only problem for Avatar at the moment, and Avatar are already huge on the continent, like a lot of bands are, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I wonder if the problem for Avatar at the moment is the same reason why I didn't listen to them for so long. Is that firstly, they are not massively well known what they are actually about.
Yes.
And they are very, very hard to categorize. So you can't really go to somebody, oh, it's death metal, it's melodic. It's quite unique sound. And it's across an album, they delve into so much. So because of that, nobody talks about them in genre circles. Nobody goes like, oh, Avatar are one of the best death metal bands out there, or Avatar are one of the best this. They're just kind of there, muddled in the background. And I think a lot of the time we listen to music based on image. Now, when I looked at Avatar in the past, I wasn't interested in it. The circus makeup, the prancing around, I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. This is just some quirky, cheesy shit. It's only when I listened to it and then I bought into it and I was like, yeah, I'm on board. Give me the face paint. You know? But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, we double up. So, you know, I have got that on my list as well. But I thought you would argue back against that and saying it wasn't going to happen.
Because of the long-term thing. Like if we were saying in the next 2 years, I'd say probably not. They're probably going to need to ride the COVID wave and then see what comes next with an album, another album, and so on. But because we're trying to project a lot further into the future, I'm going on the basis that their upward trajectory continues. They release another 2 albums over the next 10 years that are just as strong, and more people just get to know them. Yeah, that's it, really.
Cool.
All right, go on. Yeah, you can do the next one.
All right. The one that I thought I still thought we were going to double up on at some point, and that's Parkway Drive.
There we go. Of course we have.
Again, always talking about upward trajectory because that's so important in this, and they are another band that have grown with each album, but also tweaked their sound with each album, I think, to make it more appealing to the masses,
to the mainstream. Yeah.
They've also then intelligently, there's nothing wrong with doing this. They've realized that the sound enough isn't it. You know, you also need to be able to be visually impressive.
Yep.
And obviously across Reverence and the Reverence tour cycle and everything that came with it, the headline, the Bloodstock, I think they threw everything into it, and I think it worked. I think people took notice. Now it will require another 2 albums, maybe. Another album at least of the same level of quality and the same level of show to back it up. And then I would not be surprised at all to see people trying to book them up to headline bigger festivals, to be honest. I think they could achieve it in less than the 10 years. You know, I think they could achieve it on the next album cycle if it's good enough.
I'd need to find out, but obviously their Wembley Arena show
been rescheduled, isn't it?
Yeah, that one. Like, I wonder what the sales are like on that. Like, how close are they? If they're able to sell out Wembley Arena, that means they're selling out an arena. That is a big step up for them, you know? Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Yeah. I have Parkway Drive as well. That seemed to be one of the most obvious ones. It's like, well, if you just continue with doing what you've been doing, you'll be fine.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Don't be clever now. Don't go, oh, we're going to do a raw sounding album or anything like that, you know?
Yeah, that would be a mistake in it. Yeah. Talking then, it's quite a relevant band now, and initially I was never going to put these on, but because I got out of my echo chamber and then discovered that that there's a minority who think this way. Architects. So obviously Architects, as of the time of recording, have released a brand new album for those that wish to exist.
Yeah.
What I thought at the time was polarizing.
Yeah, I thought so too. Actually, I was surprised how many people came out claiming it to be their best work yet.
That shocked me.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's pushing it.
Yes, I mean, I reviewed it for the site and I found myself underwhelmed. I didn't love it. I didn't really. Well, one of the biggest criticisms I have, for many have people, is I couldn't believe how overproduced it was. It was sickening to a degree. So I recognize it's good. It's got some great songs on it, in fact. But compared to what we've had before with A Holy Hell, it kind of just felt like a step back. And for the first day, I was in an echo chamber. And that's all I saw was people kind of agreeing with me. My thoughts, be it on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. After that, I started to see more. And I actually realized that echo chamber is very small. And actually, there are a lot of people who are loving this album and think it's the best stuff they've done. And it's like, oh, okay, this is just me. It's just a small group of us who, you know, and it was like, okay, I wonder how many of these people who are loving this album are familiar with their back catalogue. E.g., do they like this new Architect sound?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was going to say.
Needed, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is the thing, like, you know, as much as I get angry with bands for changing their sound into a direction that I don't like,
of course,
you know, I do understand it. You know, I get it. It just pisses me off sometimes. I'm on your side of the fence for this. I don't really highly rate the new Architects album. I don't mind it, but it's not something I'll be going back to much at all.
Agreed.
In fact, I've listened to it once and I've moved on already. You know, whereas with Holy Hell and with albums before that, there would at least be songs that would capture me enough that I was still listening to them 5, 6, 7 months down the line.
Yep.
I didn't get that. There are good songs on it, but there weren't good songs in it that captured me like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, as well felt that they diverted and let's try and piss everyone off here. And I think that's probably one of the problems with the whole bloody metalcore vibe, isn't it? You're often so close to becoming radio possible that it's not that big a step to do that. We've seen it with other bands. I wouldn't say they're quite radio friendly, but, you know, bands that have maybe brought in elements like your While She Sleeps and your next band on my list, which is one of the ones that I don't like, but everyone talks about them fucking doing it, and that's Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, okay. Yep. We double up.
Yeah. This isn't a band that I care for. That's the truth of it. I couldn't give a monkey's about if I ever saw them headline or not. You know, I've got no problem with them, as in other people want to like them. That's fine. They're not, you know, like I have dislike for bands, I guess. As I say, Bullet for My Valentine, I have a real dislike of. Mm-hmm. Bring Me the Horizon, I just don't like musically.
Yes.
The direction they kind of did. And that's where I see things like Architects and all that kind of following, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Bring Me the Horizon, they've been a name for a while now, and they've kind of been mentioned by other festivals as in they could do it. You know, I think even I know it's Bloodstock and it's not I just said that, look, if everything else failed and we had to do a UK only band, she'd bloody bring Me the Horizon there if nothing else was available.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I remember. I heard that as well. I mean, I got Bring Me the Horizon for the exact same reasons you do. It seems like a no-brainer. It seems like it's just requiring someone to take the risk, or one more album from Bring Me the Horizon in their current style, which is very, very mainstream, but has garnered them incredible popularity.
Yeah, absolutely.
All those bands you mentioned, Parkway Drive Architects, and so on. Like, if I was to create a bill or bands that had a similar metalcore sort of vibe kind of thing, I know Parkway a little bit heavier and stuff like that, but like to me, it'd be like, okay, well, let's Bring Me at the top.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
there's Architects. You know.
I mean, if Parkway were on it, I wouldn't put them. I'd have to have 2 stages, and they can have 1 each. Because that's the weird thing with this. Like when I was thinking about Bring Me the Horizon, I wonder what your opinion on this is. Like, what say they do get to major headline status? What festival would you have them as headliner at?
Any of them.
Yeah. See, to me, I feel like their sound these days is I can see them headlining a Reading Leeds.
All right. If I was to be pedantic about it and not be that whole, well, they can headline whatever.
Be pedantic. That's what we do.
Of course, I would pick Reading and Leeds. Across the pond in other countries, I'd be looking at the likes of Rock am Ring.
Yeah, Grass Pop maybe.
Yeah, maybe Grass Pop as well. One of the ones, and in our own country, I'd obviously go, well, yeah, Download realistically, but I wouldn't put them at Bloodstock. I wouldn't put them at Wacken. I wouldn't put them even at Hellfest. Maybe. But truth, you know, that's purely because of what I think their current sound is like. But ultimately, you know, they have enough metal music to warrant the headline slot anywhere.
Yeah.
It's
I agree with that.
They would always be a massively controversial choice, no matter the festival are booked, because they're one of the most polarizing bands in the metal community, not in the mainstream community. They're fine. They never have this problem. It's us that goes, oh, you either love them or you hate. You never find people going, oh yeah, they're all right. You either love Bring Me the Horizon or you fucking hate them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, and I know. Yeah, I mean, I was probably the only one then in the history because I think I started out there.
Well, no, when it comes to the music,
music I hate.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah. It's just the only thing I don't hate about them is that the band members haven't really ever done anything that I find offensive. Do you know what I mean? There's no problem with them.
Yeah. They even did a song with Danny Filth that had a cool video for it. So
yeah, song itself is fucking terrible. That's one of my most hated.
Yeah. What song did he debut? What song did Ollie Sykes bring me? What song did he appear on While She Sleeps?
Silence Speaks.
Oh, that's it. That's quite a good song.
That is a good song, yeah, and his bit in that's quite good as well. Yeah, like I said, they've never offended me. They never come out and said something stupid or pissed me off. I just listen to their stuff, and I always tend to listen to it. Like when they release something, I always go, "I'll give it a crack." Never clicks with me, man. One of those things, isn't it?
Thanks.
Having said that, if they were headlining a festival I was at, I would still go and watch. So,
same. I agree. I'd want to check them out to say that I've seen them and I've judged them that way. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I'm going to go into my one then, because that's a super duper important thing to do. If you are going to judge a band, do eventually try to see them live at a festival. I'm not saying pay your own money. If you're at a festival and they're playing live and not clashing with something, go check out a band you think you hate on record, just see what they're like live. Because you might end up finding you enjoy it a little bit more than you expect.
Oh no, I know what you're going to say.
To a seemingly obvious headliner over the next decade, and it is, of course, Baby Metal, who obviously have risen and risen and risen. And it's simply a matter of time now, I think, that Download realistically goes, okay, you've got enough albums, you're selling out fucking the O2 Arena. Now it's time you can do it. Their popularity is only going to ever grow.
Yeah, assuming they continue on as is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, band members are interchangeable, so they can just keep. People don't seem to really care about that aspect of it. They bring a show. I saw them live at the beginning of this year, not this year, 2020, in February 2020. And I went for a review and I sat down and I was like, I wasn't going, oh, I'm going to hate this band. I was all prepared. And I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I enjoyed it a lot more for crowd watching. And I watched a packed out Hammersmith. Yeah, it was Hammersmith. Packed, sold out. People just going fucking lunatic for this J-rock metal band.
I honestly, and maybe it still will turn out to be true, but if I would have put money on this gimmick dying out, that's what I would have put money on, man. But it hasn't at all. So yeah, you're right. They, as long as they go from strength to strength. If they release another album, I can almost guarantee it'll be a bestseller. And
when I look at the live video they had for Papa Pineapple one. I don't think it wasn't called that. You know what I mean? But that one.
Yeah, Papaya or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, Papaya. That crowd was fucking. That was O2 size, whatever country that was. I think it was in Japan maybe. But then I remember watching the footage of Download back, and the crowd at Download, even if a lot of people were just there for curiosity, it was like, holy shit, this is massive, Yeah. So it is there, yeah.
All right, so I haven't got them.
Ooh.
I didn't even think about them, to be honest, but there you go. Yeah, so, okay, I'm going to come in with another band that I don't know, this is possibly pushing it a little bit, but also it's not a band that I particularly want to see headline. But their popularity always throws me, like, massively, because I don't fucking get it. But I know that they can headline. I'm sure they can. I know they're popular. I know they bring a show, and that's Ghost.
Yeah.
I know that they cross the rock genre quite regularly as well. It's not like oh my god, you can't have them here, they're too black metal or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, their popularity, like, it just blows my mind because of not being a fan of it. I listen to it and I go, oh, you guys are never going to make anything of yourself. And then you're like, all of a sudden, there's like 1 million people cheering them at a fucking festival in Germany or something like that. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you guys are doing pretty well for yourself considering you're only like, what are they, 3-4 albums into their existence?
Yeah, 4, I think, yeah.
And their scale now already in that cycle to have, been at the top of the pile in places like, Bloodstock and like I said, I think they're bigger even on the continent than they are in terms of popularity over here, which is normally the case. So if you're talking like one for the future, a couple more, it's hard for me to say this because I don't like any of the stuff anyway, but a couple more good albums that sound well with their fan base and kind of pull in more people. I mean, surely they have to be a headliner, a major headliner, don't they?
Yeah, I have them as well for the exact same reasons as you do there, which is it just seems, it almost seems inevitable that the Ghost Train will eventually reach there. The different variation in albums, the fact that Prequel was more pop than rock, just actually seemed to enhance the popularity, even amongst rock and metal fans. And this new album, which might come, but seems like it might come this year.
Looks that way.
Yeah, well,
they started the marketing train, and they did their official proper release video, didn't they, the other day?
Yeah, and I saw an interview with Tobias Forge, obviously, Popper, and him saying, "Oh, well, we never do the same album twice. This one will have more riffs or something like that." So it's like, okay, that could be interesting. What does that mean?
Did he say who's writing them?
Obviously, he is.
Yeah, I was just saying, well, I am.
Yeah, the similar almost to like Baby Metal and Avatar. It's been an upward trend for Ghost. What's the venue that's more theatre? The place where they did the proms in the UK. What is that venue called? Fuck's sake.
Shepherd's Bush.
No, it's the big like theatre style place. They do BBC proms there. Oh, really? They play. Obviously, Ghost played that and sold that out last in 2019, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah. So damn, I can't remember what that place is. Going to bug me now.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. Oh, it's just there. I keep thinking of Alexandria Palace. Not Alexandria Palace.
Nah. Right. Royal Albert Hall.
There you go. Royal Albert Hall. Thank you. Yes. And they sold that out. Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Because it just like when you say the Royal Albert Hall, that kind of always brings to mind the classical kind of environment and theatre productions, and the idea of Ghosts being there with nuns handing out communion and
theatre production, though, right?
Yeah.
That is Ghost.
But also, that's the shit that can push you to be a headliner.
Yeah.
I think in the old days it wasn't always necessary. I think the music could have been enough, but these days there's a billion bands doing the same song. So what have you got that's different?
Look at the bands we've named already and think about the shows they're now bringing these days. So Avatar, bring a show. They just don't, and in whatever they can do. I think that'll increase as well with a lot more pyro and things. Look at Parkway Drive. Brendan mentioned when we were talking about it, that how they enhanced and changed their entire thing. Yeah. Architects, when they played Alexandria Palace, they were bringing this show. Gojira, Brixton.
Gojira, yeah.
There you go. Bring Me the Horizon. I've never seen them live. I'm sure they do. And Baby Metal, of course, bring a show. My next three.
The production company does.
Well, yeah. Well, my next three I'll put some out there ones. They're a bit like, if everything works out and it requires the bands to do a lot to go forward.
Have you just your next three? You've got more after that, yeah?
No, that's it.
I've got 5 left.
Well, what did we double up on? I had Ghost as well.
You had Ghost. You had Parkway Drive.
Gojira.
Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah.
Avatar.
Yeah. Oh, you've got 5 then. Carry on.
What was I going to say? Although I think all of mine are pushing it a bit now. Okay, because this is, I guess, partly wishful thinking, maybe in some cases, and some it's a possibility. So I'll go for my first one, which is Sabaton.
Right.
I know that they have obviously kind of covered headlining and they're a big band everywhere, but like I was looking at this from a UK perspective, and I know that it's difficult sometimes for this style of music to translate well in the UK to say end up maybe on the main stage at a download or something like that. But I think they're probably the closest one to it. I do think they're a popular band. I think they are, obviously we know they're popular in Europe, and that's kind of, I guess, where I base this on the fact that, I was looking at this from a UK perspective.
Yeah.
They do, like we were just talking about, they bring a show. Their last album, I think, did propel them to greater heights. And I think even in interviews that people can watch over on the site, when we've spoken to them, they've spoken about how there's a turning point really in the UK, like they've always wanted to crack it. And it felt like that was kind of happening. They did some pretty huge shows at Wembley, which I think were sold out as well, or at least very close to it. And again, that's the scale, isn't it? The only thing that holds them back, maybe takes away the chance at all, is whether or not a festival like a Download will take a gamble on it.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, so yeah, I've gone for Sabaton as one of them.
Yeah, my sort of about Sabaton is that lack of mainstream appeal. Like, yeah, they're cracking the metal market and having more popularity there. But let's say, and we use Download as the best example, being the biggest, one of the biggest sort of alternative festivals in this country. And I think, God, would the sort of people who turn up there to see Diane Antwood and Biffy Clyro and the likes look at Sabaton as anything but what the fuck's the point? What is that? Do you know what I mean? Like that's their difficult point.
Yeah.
It really is. It's strange. It's one of those weird things where, again, like you said, you look at the European festival side and you think, what aren't we getting over here? You know,
yeah,
it's
no, absolutely
weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Up sticks and move to Germany.
We'll do another one then, so we end up on 3 each.
Okay. Where am I at? Okay, so I guess I carry on the same vein then, because and this is with Amon Amarth.
Oh, okay. I thought about Amon Amarth.
Yeah. And I kind of, these are one of the ones that I kind of put them on, took them off, and I was like, no, do you know what? 10 years, you're talking about a bit of the future. You know, they've definitely grown. They have also, whether fans of Amon Amarth like this or not, they have chilled their sound.
Of course. Yeah,
they're much more accessible to the non-extreme crowd these days than they ever were.
Yeah.
And assuming that they're going to at least stay at that level and continue on, I don't see any reason why they won't grow from that. Again, whether they're too niche for your mainstream hard rock festivals, your downloads and whatnot, possibly. But again, they bring a fucking show.
Yeah.
If you can get the fan base behind you, if they can pull in 2 more albums worth of like good fan growth, why not? Why wouldn't you? Everybody can see the Fire and Flame and Vikings battling out, and you can have the whole of Download sit down and row boats.
It's a cool image.
Yeah.
I left them off for one reason. It's going to be so harsh. Really sorry, Amon Amarth and fans. I think they've hit their peak already. I don't think they're going to get any bigger. I think they've hit it. I think John's Viking, that one was probably the highest they're going to go. And I just don't see 10 years down the line, older Amon Amarth being bigger than they are. Well, bigger than they were 2 years ago, because I'd even argue that they've lost some momentum since then. But that's why I didn't put them on the list, even though it did cross my mind as well, purely because there was a period where it was like, holy shit, this band looked like they're on their way. The trajectory's there. Yeah. Okay, right. So my out there ones, and these are bands that I think are like will we consider small now. So we are talking decade down the line, and this is a band that I'm now looking at in a different light, because I would used to call myself a super fan. Now I'd call myself a fan, and I'm very wary of what comes next. But I also can see the writing on the wall for what comes next, and it is While She Sleeps. I think While She Sleeps are heading in the exact same direction that we're seeing what Architects are doing. The same direction with Parkway Drive, where Parkway Drive mainstreamed their sound to a degree. Or Bring Me the Horizon as well. Maybe not to that extent, but you can see While She Sleeps now have a clear plan for where they want to go. And it is the sort of thing that will get them a ton more attention. And again, the fuss surrounding this new album has taken me by surprise. It's small Sheffield, what was once just a metalcore hardcore band, is getting noticed and talked about everywhere. And this new album is going to be super duper important for them, because this is now the album where they're past, in theory, the problems. They're with labels again. They've settled on the fact that Loz isn't going to be sort of a major singer anymore. And this is the first one from that era, I think. I still feel like the last one, So What, was them kind of bedding in that new sound, bedding in those new ideas. Yep. This is the one where it's like, no, we know what we're doing. Now we're going for it. I personally think I'm going to come away very unhappy with what comes out of that album based off what's been going on over the last couple of years. But I think, like Architect's new album, it's going to blow up, potentially could blow up. And there's the starting point. So that they're so young. They're so young. And if they've now found what works for them, that's not going to cause them problems where they have to stop because someone needs surgery, or this needs to happen, or that needs to happen, then nothing, because that's what happened while She Sleeps. The stop starts really caused them a lot of problems, and they had to change sounds and do things differently. Yeah. Now, in theory, they may not have to. And if that means the train can properly get rolling, none of this stuff where they're standing up and going, oh yeah, we're doing it on our own, where that was just like, well, good luck with that, but you'll never ever be a big band. But you know, as bad as it is, you need that massive backing, that PR campaign, the label, and all that, all this shit they now have behind them. Yeah, I think they.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I absolutely 100% agree with you. Yeah, so it is one of those things. I'm happy for the band, and I'm sad for me.
That's it, innit?
That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
Because as much as I'd love to say, oh, I'd love them to release a let's go back to This Is the Six sort of era, or brainwashed, or do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know those days are gone. I know they are. Gone.
Yeah.
And I'm sad about it.
You know what I see? There's a band out there, a very famous band. I almost put on this list, but I left off. Was Enter Shikari. I love Enter Shikari's debut album. I think it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Take to the Skies has got so many bangers on it. That is the only Enter Shikari album I like. I still love it to this date, but I cannot enjoy any other Enter Shikari album. That's what I see with While She Sleeps. So I'm like, you know what? There's 2 albums, 3 maybe. That'll be it. But like 5 or 6, 10, 8 albums down the line, I'll just be looking back and going, yeah, I love that album back in the day. That's it.
Can't wait for the 20th anniversary tour. But yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? You know, I think we saw it with While She Sleeps at the most recent show. We saw the change, and that was really with the fan base that were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was no longer a metal crowd. Oh, it wasn't. Sorry, it was partially, but it was like in the like the band were. It was in the changeover period where there were some people there who looked like they'd never been at a metal show before in their life, and were almost like rave dancing and getting right on our nerves.
Yeah. I remember the set list from that. I remember it. It was so weighted towards all
the new stuff, wasn't it? Yeah.
And You Are We, and it was like, oh, okay. I think they did like one song from This Is the Six.
Yeah, that was it.
Lucky. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have them on my list. But I am in the realms of possible nonsense now.
Okay, yeah, I've got my next to a nonsense as well.
Right, so my first one, there's some logic to this, okay? Although I've probably chosen the wrong band, but this is, I guess, my personal preference, okay? And I feel that when Metallica knock it on the head, because Slayer have already knocked on the head. I was going to say in 10 years' time it'll be Slayer headlining.
Didn't headline now, have they? So there you go.
It's Slayer's 5th reunion tour.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? If they were to come back in 10 years' time as a Slayer reunion tour, they probably would be.
Yeah, I think they would. That'd be a ticket seller, wouldn't it? But yeah, no, the one I've gone for is I'm in my mind. I was like, you know what? For the last, I don't even want to guess how many years it's been. There's always been a big thrash band, and it's mostly always been Metallica. Yeah. You know, has been kind of that headline slot.
Right.
You know, I don't know if Megadeth have ever done it. I'm not sure Megadeth will ever get any bigger than they have been, and I don't think they ever will. Great. But I do think there is a place for a big thrash band. Ooh. And I've gone for the guys that have worked so hard and been around forever, man. And I'd love to see them get one cycle where maybe it works. And that is Creator.
Oh, it's Creator. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. That is out there. I would never have guessed Creator.
Do you know, like, the Creator have been around pretty much in and around the same era as everybody else. You know, they're old boys. They're not getting any fucking younger.
they're Bay Area thrash as well, isn't it?
German band. They're German.
What am I talking about? Yep, fair enough.
Bay Area, Berlin. But you know, like the Satan Is Real album a couple of years back, that, from what I gather, was as popular and sold as well as anything ever in their career. That saw them being booked in mid-slots and festivals, and actually people were into it and they were like, this is really good. We saw them play at Bloodstock. And they were really fucking good. And I'm not, you know, I understand I'm pushing this to the fucking max here and trying to persuade something that's never going to happen. like it's up to you. But you know what? Like, if Metallica knocked it on the head, and in 10 years' time they were like, you know what, we need a big fresh band, and they've released they followed up the Satan Is Real album with another 1 or 2 that continue to capture the recent time imagination. Then I don't think there's many thrash bands as hard working as them who wouldn't deserve it. And I know a lot of people would probably say, actually, no, you're more likely to see, I don't know, Testament, Lamb of God, someone like that. But Yeah, for me, I'd love to see Creator up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other major thrash bands like on that level.
You know, the big four. It was only ever, if we're ever to be completely honest about it, it was only ever really a big one and three others.
Yes. I'd go further than that. I'd say 1, 2, and then one below them all.
Yeah. And then, you know, when you look at that and you think like, oh, Metallica stepped down, Slayer are gone, Megadeth ain't going to be suddenly headlining Download. Anthrax definitely aren't.
Definitely not.
You know, so maybe that will just be the end of our big thrash headliners. Maybe that will literally be the end of it. But if you come to the level down from that, you are really into your Testaments, Lamb of God, Creator, At a Push. There's probably a few others out there as well. You know, and I'm not saying it would happen, but you know, for me, I love the fact that amongst your Biffy Clyros and your Foo Fighters and your, I don't know, your other big headliners, that there's often that one kind of thrash. Obviously Maiden, you know, are kind of up there in that top tier as well, aren't they, with Metallica?
Yeah.
You know, there's and what it's almost like, it's weird, like every festival, every calendar year, at one of these festivals somewhere in the world will have a Maiden or a Metallica or someone like that on it. You know, for probably the last 40 years.
Yes.
You know, and when they go, I'd just love to see another thrash band in there rather than another Biffy Clyro.
The thing that kind of adds credence to your statement is that exact thing, is that we are doing this long-term future. So we are obviously doing it on the basis that Creator is still around and presuming that all the others won't be. We constantly say who will be the next fucking headliners. Realistically, festivals are then going to look to, when they're forced to have to the next lowest tiers. And that's what they'll end up doing, because we're not pushing people up. That isn't happening.
But don't you think as well, like, okay, stupid fucking example, because this doesn't actually exist in real life, but no festival is going to go out and book a Friday, Saturday, Sunday Biffy Clyro, like or that style, because they need that mix. Your ticket sales also come from the mix. You know, you've got your heavy day, you've got your not so heavy. Do you know what I mean? Then they mix it up. So if your thrash stuff has always been a big seller, you're not going to suddenly go, right, well, we're not going to have any of that anymore. We're just going to have Biffy Clyro, Foo Fighters, and you know, every
festival does that. Even look at something like Glastonbury, hyperbole, but like they will have like what's his name, a rap artist.
Oh yeah, like Stormzy on one night,
Paul McCartney on another.
Yeah, Dolly Parton and Stormy, because they've got a clientele to impress. We do it at Bloodstock. You know, we have a classic band on a Sunday night.
Yep.
We have a new band on a Friday night, and we have a big kind of hitter normally on the night in between. You know.
Yeah.
And that's important, I think, for them, just ticket sales. So I'm not saying it will be a thrash band, but if every festival always have a heavy band, somebody has to take that role. They can't just say, "Oh, we just won't have a heavy one anymore." You know what I mean?
I think we've just turned this into reality.
Go Creator! Congratulations.
See you in 10 years' time at Download. Okay, mine's a heavy choice as well, and it requires so much, and it also requires something that is going to would upset quite a lot of people. It would require this band to change their sound a bit, to kind of, which they kind of hinted at they might be willing to experiment with 2 of their new tracks off their newest release, which was 2 EPs put together, old EPs, and then they added 2 new tracks at the end, which had some more melody, some clean singing, a little bit different to just their normal death metal, and it is Venom Prison. Now, I know, saying it now, basing it now, that is absurd. It is absurd. It's Venom Prison. I think when they played Bloodstock, they were on like 1st or 2nd on the main stage there in the last 2 years and so on. But we are talking in the future. And it's simply put, they're very popular amongst certain crowds. They're also popular in the sense that they upset a certain type of person as well, due to their views or their reactions and words they've spoken, which again is just media attention. Sometimes, what do they say? There's no such thing as bad press. If someone's hating you, it means they're paying attention to you. And likewise, that works well for Venom Prison. But as I said, it would require a lot of things to go their way. And one of the biggest ones is they could not stick to what they're doing exclusively, this crazy, insane death metal style. They would need to soften. They would have to change it up, get a little bit more melodic here and there to touch a mainstream crowd, to get that attention. And I'm not saying they did that. The 2 tracks I'm referencing, I'm not like, oh my God, they're super soft and it's all that. They are not. This Venom Prison very fucking heavy. But there was something different about those tracks. And it caught my attention and I liked it. And it was like, okay, and what if that was what they were going to do going forward slowly? Then we could see it certainly getting a lot more that mainstream. It's probably my most impossible. No, Oh, maybe. It might be Almost Impossible 1. Depends on the last one. But 10 years down the line, it's just kind of like, okay, they're young, they're hungry, they've got a lot going for them on their sides in regards to the attention they gather.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could see that working.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it's not impossible. You're right. It does need a lot to happen. And it needs a lot of, it almost needs a direction, I guess, from them, you know, to go, right, that's what we're aiming for.
Yes.
Because I think when we've talked about a lot of these bands, like your Parkway Drives and your Architects and everything like that, I think, like we've said already, that's kind of what happened with them, is that they decided what they wanted to get to, and then they put steps in place to become that.
You're right. Yeah.
You know, and it can go one of two ways. And I do genuinely think there's a fork in the path there. I think you can go one of two ways, and that is you can step more towards the mainstream to pull in your audience that way, or you can step to a cleaner sound but stay heavy. And I think that's the difference for me in how Architects and Parkway Drive went.
Yeah, true.
I don't think Parkway Drive started experimenting to the point where they're going to get played on a radio. They just cleaned their sound up.
True. There is a very obvious difference.
Yeah.
If you don't believe us, go put Parkway Drive's latest album on and put on Architects and see the difference.
Yeah,
that's
the two bands that started off in a similar place follow the same sort of trajectory, and they're both going to be absolutely fucking huge, but they've just gone about it a slightly different way.
Agree.
And
Yeah.
Venom Prison, there's no reason at all why Venom Prison or any band of that nature could not do a similar thing.
Yeah.
With the right kind of choices made, you know, and the right steps. All right, so my second last one. This is probably not going to happen ever, but you never know. Dark Tranquility.
Okay.
There you go. Now, I kind of feel like the boat has probably gone on this happening, because I thought, like, after Atoma,
there was it.
That was right. You know, deliver another one or two of them, and you're going to be fucking huge. And the follow-up wasn't great. That's the problem. It's not a bad album by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it would have garnered them another army of new fans. You know, I think it would have just sort of satisfied the ones that were already there, and then that was the end of it.
Moments.
But, you know, if you're talking 10 years, and we're talking, or you know, a bit in the future, you're probably talking at least another 2 album cycles then, aren't you? So there is time for them, and they are a big band. They're a big band. They're well liked. They are deemed melodic death metal purely because they come from Scandinavia, but they were much more on the cleaner edge of that than any of your other ones, really. So I don't know. Come back now. Your next album's another Atoma. The one after that's a massive hitter as well. You may very well find yourself propelled to new heights.
Again, I'm going to use the Machine Head analogy here, and I'm going to say, okay, so we had the Blackening with Machine Head, and then they did underwhelming Unto the Locust. However, they then followed up with the much loved and lauded Bloodstones and Diamonds, which, you know, for a lot of people was as good as, if not better, well, was better than Unto the Locust, but as good as the Blackening. You know, the problem was the ship had already sailed then. That's what Dark Tranquility kind of need. We have Atoma, which, as I agree with you, was probably the moment that really should have pushed them up.
Yeah.
Moment, the new album, it's good, but it is not, what it lacks is memorability compared to what Atoma is. So if what follows this is Atoma level, then who knows? Yeah.
Get yourself back up to that level and then go again from there, innit?
Yeah.
I would just, not that I need to do this, but I'm just going to point out that Onto the Locust is a much better album than Bloodstone and Diamonds. But anyway, we'll carry on from there.
There are better songs on Unto the Locust, but as an overall product, Bloodstones and Diamonds is superior, I think.
I feel a track by track coming up soon.
Well, last one requires simply this. It requires the mainstream audience to get their heads out of their asses and just pay attention to this band. I don't know if it's a press thing. I don't know if it's the style of music that just doesn't. So progressive metal, technical metal, however you want to call it, it never really seems to hit the mainstream. I don't know if it's just too much for, you know, your average Spotify single listener to enjoy and so on. But there's one band amongst all these sort of progressive bands that we have listened to that I think is probably the best at it for not just good at what they do, but also creating songs that I'm like, that should be on the fucking radio. That's catchy and clever enough. And it just doesn't seem to have been working for them. And it's Periphery. Periphery to date have not released a single bad album at all. In fact, the last two, Periphery 3, Select Difficulty, Periphery 4, Hell, Stan, are brilliant. They're pieces of genius work. you know, we did a track by track for Periphery's select difficulty. And it was an amazing time for me to go back to that. So, but because it's that progressive metal thing, it just doesn't seem to be working. So again, it comes down to one of those things where it's like, well, what if they just dropped a little bit of progressive, kept, you know, would that work for them? Or is it simply a matter of they just need the right person or right people to look in a direction and be like, oh, who the fuck's this band? This Periphery band? They're amazing. Why aren't they up there? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they are a very strong band, and I agree with you that they are probably the masters in that genre. But even between the two of us, we did that track by track, and like we had polarizing views. I liked a lot of it, but I also found a lot of it disjointed, messy, and just too busy. So when you said that, maybe, I don't know, rein it in just a touch. And I think, like, if you want to capture the mainstream audience, and as sad as this is, you have to dumb down.
Yes.
Because it's hard to catch the beat. What's happening now? You know, people don't buy it 8 minute long. We're going to throw you all over the place. People don't buy into that shit on the radio.
You can't dance to a prog rock song, can you?
No, you can try, but you're going to look like I don't know, like you're glitching. All right. So I guess, I don't know if mine's more of a stretch than yours or less of a stretch, but it's definitely a fucking stretch, my last one.
Yeah.
And this is me wishful thinking and wishing that, you know, within all of these conversations, just one proper heavy band could break that fucking, you know, chain of, oh, you're not popular enough. And I've gone for Cattle Decapitation. Now, I know the answer is no. For any kind of, you know, I guess medium upwards festival, probably. I don't even know if they'd be welcome at a medium-sized festival as the main headliner.
Yeah.
But they, you know, in that environment of extreme metal, one thing that Cattle Decapitation have done over the course of their definitely the last few albums, is they've managed to stay viciously heavy, but tweak themselves slightly to be just a little bit more appealing to a lot of people. You know, they brought in some of these quite unique edge, clean vocals. Their songs now, for large portions of them, actually settle into a beat. There are some keyboards played on some of the songs.
I'd say they're at times catchy.
Yeah, I know, and you're not meant to say that for this sort of stuff. You know, I mean, maybe Glastonbury's the festival for them, because they're obviously very pro-planet, vegetarians, you know, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, maybe they should be there.
Yeah.
But I know it's unrealistic, but a little part of me, amongst all of this stuff and talking about Ghost and fucking, you know, Avenged Sevenfold, or sorry, not Avenged Sevenfold, Bring Me the Horizon, all those sorts of bands, a little bit of me is like, yeah, but I still want one for me.
Yeah.
And I would love to see somebody just capture enough of the audience for them to say, you know, we need that heavy band on a Friday night. You know, let's Cattle Decapitation of the right size. 10 years time, another 2-3 albums. Yeah,
that's it. It's another 2-3 albums. I mean, we like I said, we when we agreed this, it became very clear, and it's the fault of the scene that there simply couldn't be 10 obvious. Yeah. Oh, they're obviously going to be headliners. Because like I said, I got the 2, and even those 2 felt like a stretch. When I put Avatar down, I was like, well, that feels like a stretch already.
Yeah, I mean, I got Gojira partway drive, and then I was like, oh, right now I'm pushing it for everything.
Yeah, but why the fuck not? Before we wrap this up, though, while you were talking, a band flew into my head, and it's admittedly one that I've completely forgotten about, and it's probably it's one I want to mention, just as an extra one, as it were, that it's all really going to depend upon what comes next from this band. But based off hype, and that hype being proved to be correct, we should probably give a shout out to Alien Weaponry.
Yeah, I did think about them. I was like, when I was doing my thrash thing, and I was like, in 10 years' time. But the only reason I didn't put them on my list is because I need at least one more album first before I really know. We do,
yeah, that's it. We really don't have enough to go on.
Second album's a banger. Then I am thinking, in 10 years' time, guys, you could be fucking massive. You know, you can play underneath Creator.
Crash Day, you know. Oh, there you go. Well, ours are out there. If you've got some suggestions, sensible suggestions, or out there ones that you would actually like and with an explanation, drop them in the comments. Tell us we're talking shit for coming up with cattle decapitation and periphery potential headliners in 10 years.
Yeah.
No, we did have some serious ones at the start. We did try. So yeah, let us know. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?